There we go. So it's 6 o'clock, 6:01 by my time, and we will call the meeting to order. Before I do so, I am required to read the following. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast over Lunenburg Public Access. The town of Lunenburg, in response to COVID-19 coronavirus, is currently following the guidance from the Lunenburg Board of Health, Massachusetts Department of Public Health, and CDC regarding the virus and steps communities can take to prevent the spread, and all town facilities are open by appointment only. Outside open hours of 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. In accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, all public meetings are to be conducted remotely. This meeting will be broadcast live through local cable access on Facebook Live on Public Access Facebook page, and will be available to be found on Lunenburg Access YouTube channel within 24 hours after the meeting. The following information is provided for members of the public that would like to participate in the meeting remotely. To participate remotely from a computer, please use the link below to join the public meeting webinar. The link is listed. Or from a telephone, dial toll-free number 800-475-4499 and enter meeting ID 872-7935-8680. If you have not registered with Zoom, you will be asked for your name and email address. Note, no participant ID is needed. Just press the pound key when asked. Telephone users may dial *9 to request to speak after joining the meeting. Computer and app users may use the raise hand feature to request to speak. I trust that our members know how to mute and unmute themselves, and that we will be respectful of one another, not to talk over each other. So I'm going to try not to use the mute all button if I can avoid it, but I will do so if things get out of hand, and we can follow those that game plan accordingly. Digging in to the agenda, I wanted to start by welcoming our new members, Lynn Mann and Mike Toohill, to the committee. So welcome aboard. Glad to have you. Lynn, do you want to take a minute to introduce yourself, and then we can go to Mike?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. My background is in public health, and I'm just sort of finishing up my stint at Regis College teaching in the public health program there. I have a long history of doing program development in the area around public health issues. But more recently, I've just been very interested in conservation and environmental issues. And so I'm really happy to be part of this committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. How about Mike?
Hi, good evening. This is Mike Toohill. I am an ecologist and I'm an environmental consultant right now, and have been for many, many years. Longtime resident of Lunenburg, first time on a board. I'm really happy to be here. And I hope I can help contribute to this group. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Before the meeting this evening, I sent along a couple of emails. I hope you had a chance to review them, or at least open them. The first, next item on the agenda is to review and approve the minutes. It says on the agenda from 12/19/2019, that was a typo. It's a 12/10/2019. There was no quorum at that meeting. It was just Paula Bertram, myself, and Bob Pease. So it wasn't a meeting where we could take any actions. We didn't have a quorum, but we did have a chance to review some items associated with the open space plan, as at that time we were trying to wrap that up. Does anybody have any questions about those minutes? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes of 12/10/19.
Thank you. Second?
You don't have to be present to the meeting to vote on the minutes.
Thank you, Paula.
Mhm.
Thank you for the second, Sarah. And we will have to vote everything by roll call for the purposes of the Zoom meeting. So I'll go through the roll of those present. Sarah?
Yes.
Paula?
Aye.
Lynn?
I wasn't present. Do you still want me to vote?
You don't have to have been present to vote on the minutes.
Okay, aye.
Thank you. And Mike?
Aye.
Thank you. And I vote aye as well. Karen and Rich, obviously, because you're not the designees yet for your respective boards, you can't vote for those, I would presume. Thank you. And I guess a moment of administration here is, Paula, it looks like you might be taking notes. Is that true?
I am, yes.
Thank you. Okay, if I consider you as our minute taker then?
For tonight, yeah.
Okay, good. I appreciate it. And that actually segues well into the next topic on the agenda, which is committee administration. As noted, the last minutes we just approved were from December of 2019. Our committee has typically operated as an ad hoc advisory committee to the planning board. We've typically operated very much on an ad hoc basis, basically as needed. So when certain items come up, like Chapter 61 withdrawal, sort of one like the one we have on the agenda this evening, open space plan updates caused a whole flurry of meetings. The Saliba property acquisition caused a flurry of meetings. But sometimes we go through these periods of hiatus where we're not doing much. But now that we have a fully updated open space and recreation plan, and that plan calls for a number of different action items, there's a really interesting opportunity here for us to transition more to helping support the implementation of that plan. And so I think we would like to try to get our committee meeting a little bit more regularly, if possible, so that we can kind of keep the ball rolling on a number of these implementation items, and hopefully provide the support to the boards that actually have the authority to do the implementing. You know, our board really is not one that has authority for implementation. We're really just a cheerleader, but we can provide support to the Conservation Commission for the actions that they want to take on conservation properties. We can provide support to the Parks Commission for the improvements they want to make on Parks property, and so on. And so it seems like it would be good for us to meet a little bit more regularly so we can help support those boards to continue to make progress towards the action items that were outlined in our open space plan. So that's item number one. And item number two, I think, would be that, you know, we're definitely looking for people to step up and pursue those portions of the plan that they're particularly inspired by. So hopefully we can get a bit more actively involved in some of those items that are listed. Unfortunately, prior to starting this meeting, I went to the open space webpage on the town's website, and I see the land use director took down the wrong version of the open space plan. The old 2011 version is what's published there for some reason, and the 2019 version that just got approved is no longer visible there. So I will go back to the land use director, unless somebody else would like to do that, and see if Adam would be willing to try again and
Brandon, I have to go to the town hall on Monday anyway, so
Okay.
I can talk to him then.
Okay, I would appreciate that. Yeah, the 2011, the outdated 2011 plan and maps are all that's visible right now. So
Do you have,
he should have everything because it was all posted already. And when I told,
because I downloaded it and it says 2019 plan.
well, I was just looking at the dates on the website, so maybe it's the wrong dates in the right plan. Let me just,
I
Hold on.
downloaded the 2019 one as well, but it was a while ago, so I don't know if it's been changed since then.
okay. While I have,
Let me see what I have.
Yeah, the file is named 5620.
yeah, that would be the right one.
So if you click on the link, that's the plan that loads.
So it's just labeled wrong.
Yeah,
Okay. Well,
did you
that
pull
should
it
be,
up?
that should be easier to fix then.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. That's interesting because when I went, I think maybe there's an old, well, regardless. We should probably just make sure because like I said, right before I
Okay.
went on here, I checked, I went through the planning board and then I clicked on open space.
if you go to departments, we're listed as a board commission, and if you click on the open space commission,
Okay.
then you get to the right plan.
So but if you navigate to the open space committee via the planning board's page,
You go to the wrong one.
it brings you to a now defunct page.
Yes, I have the wrong one.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
if you go through the planning board, it's wrong.
Yep.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, I know you just said this, Paula, but where do I go to get the right one?
Go to the, hold on, let me do it so I make sure I tell you the right thing.
Yeah, I just got it on the open space committee page.
Yeah, so if you go to boards and committees,
And then go straight to open space.
Okay,
right,
okay, thank you.
Yeah, so that's a dead link if you go through the planning board.
okay, okay,
So we should at least have that link
yep,
killed. So
okay.
that's-
It's actually not dead in the part one. It let me download 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that will confuse anybody that goes looking for it. So we should
Yeah.
make sure that gets squared away.
Okay,
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad at least that the current version of the plan is available still on the website. So for members, I encourage you to refresh yourself with what's in that plan and particularly the items that are particularly pertaining to the Conservation Commission, the Recreation Commission, and things that we can do to help support those.
Yeah.
Not sure where that's coming from.
Why don't we come up Friday night?
Okay, so any questions on the committee administration piece? I would like to see about making our meetings fairly regularly.
mhm,
And that would be, I had a conversation with Paulo yesterday. We talked about maybe once a month. I had a conversation with Bob Pease today. He mentioned maybe once a quarter. And maybe it's somewhere in between there. Maybe it could be once every other month or something along those lines for a regularly scheduled meeting. We can always meet if things come up in advance, and we can schedule more regular or more timely meetings if needed. But if we have something on the books on a regular basis, I think that would make sense for us to kind of continue moving the ball forward. Do people have any strong opinions about once a month, once every other month, or once a quarter?
I think at least initially, what I'd like to see us do once a month, just until we figure out what our goals are. So if you have an opportunity to go through the open space plan and look at the 7-year action plan, and let's really talk about what things we can help implement. I had an opportunity to research a whole bunch of grants. I'd like the opportunity to talk about those. One of the things that's specified in the plan is to meet with the departments, make sure we have their buy-in, make sure that we're all on the same page. So I'd like to at least get us off, and then once I think we can kind of divide and conquer, then I don't know that we need to meet every month. I think then it might be a couple months before we have anything to bring back to the committee. But at least initially, until we figure out what it is that we want to focus on, personally, I'd like to see us meet more regularly.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Paula, where was the 7-year plan in there?
It's part of the open space plan. It starts on page 73.
On 73. Oh, I see it. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's
Section 9. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I agree with your idea too, Paul. I think that's a good idea.
And Brandon, this is Karen. I also agree with Paula. I guess my question to you guys is what you're looking at for a date at right now, whatever Thursday this is in the month. I don't know, what is it, the third week? I have a standing commitment every third week of every month at 6:30. So where the Parks Commission is such a small committee, and one of our other members isn't interested in any longer. I'm just concerned that this.
Karen, you were breaking up for me anyway.
Yeah.
And it sounded like third Thursdays do not work well for you. So we can look at another date. Rich, when does Conservation Commission meet?
First and third Wednesdays.
First and third Wednesdays. Okay, so we'll stay away from those.
I have a commitment on the second and fourth Thursdays.
So first and third Wednesdays, second and fourth Wednesdays. Wait, am I getting?
First and third Wednesdays, second and fourth Thursdays, and third Thursdays.
Just going to point out Thursday's a horrible day for me to do this. But
Okay.
so if we can consider another day, that would be better for me. And I will work on convincing the other parts of this decision that this is a good idea.
How are Tuesdays?
Tuesdays are awesome for me.
Tuesdays are good.
Tuesdays are good except the last Tuesday of the month.
Okay. So let's shoot for Tuesday then. And why don't we shoot for the third Tuesday of the month? And then we'll have a date. And is this time slot work for folks? 6 p.m.?
Works for me.
It works for me as well.
Okay, good. So we'll go third Tuesdays of the month for the time being. How about we schedule the third Tuesday for September, October, and November? And looks like December will probably coincide with holidays and may not be a great time for a meeting anyway. And at least get those on the books for the time being.
Okay.
That sound good?
So September 17th, October 15th, November 19th.
Were we doing Tuesdays or Thursdays?
Tuesdays.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking
November
at totally
17th.
Mondays. Sorry.
Yeah, Tuesday. So it'd be September 15.
15.
It'd be October 20. And it would be November 17.
Okay, do you want me to post, the town hall now is open for part of the day. Do you want me to post those meetings?
Yeah, I think that would make sense.
Okay,
Great.
December would be the 15th, Brandon. I don't know whether that works. It's just the first Tuesday is is the very beginning of the month.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, so if we wanted to go ahead and book the December as well, I think we could do that, December
Okay.
15.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
And maybe by then we won't want to meet every month.
Yeah.
Right, we
and
can
we'll-
reassess, yeah.
Yep. It's a good plan. Great. The last item I wanted to touch base on the committee administration piece is I would appreciate having a vice chairperson nominated for the committee. I think that would be very helpful to help the administration of things. Because as you could tell by my late emails, sometimes it's hard to get everything out. Would anybody like to nominate themselves or nominate somebody else for consideration as vice chair?
Brandon, it's Karen. Can I nominate Paula?
You certainly
can't-
can.
Giving me the stink eye.
No, I'm happy to do that.
Terrific. Thank you, Paula. Does anybody want to second that nomination?
I'll
I'll
second that.
second it.
Okay. We'll go ahead and take a vote on that then. All those in favor of Paula as vice chairperson of the Open Space Committee?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
I am also an aye. And Paula?
Aye.
Thank you. Great. Well, I appreciate that and looking forward to getting us going a little bit more regularly. So thank you very much for that. Moving on. General municipal town-owned property disposition. I sent you some information that the Conservation Commission had put together and asked, Bob Pease was asking that we could start talking about this topic. This topic has to do with the disposition, for those of you new to the committee, has to do with the disposition of town-owned properties that are not necessarily under the designated care and control of a specific board. So Massachusetts law allows, most land in most communities is owned as what they call general municipal land. It's just owned by the town, under the care and control and custody, basically, and oversight of the selectmen. The school committees and school districts have the authority to have care and control and custody of property. Water districts have the authority, statutory authority, to have care, control, and custody of certain properties. Conservation Commission similarly, Parks Commission similarly. And so if you go through the open space plan, you'll see that this was actually an action item that was identified in the open space plan, was figuring out some of the dispositions of either general municipal owned property or properties that were in various stages of tax title foreclosure. And then if you look at the town inventory map in the open space plan, you'll also see that there are some pretty key parcels of land that are either like completely surrounded by Conservation Commission properties, for instance, but they're owned as general municipal lands. Maybe it makes sense to have those dedicated to the care and control of the Conservation Commission and out of general municipal ownership. There are other properties that are owned as general municipal that may be of conservation and or recreation interest that we could use to have those properties to be, again, further dedicated to those uses. The property that comes up most often is as the West Street parcel. There's a large parcel that's, I think it's roughly 60 acres of land, plus or minus. Rich, maybe you know better off the top of your head. But there's a large parcel in sort of the southwestern part of town, just outside of the Whalum district there, that's large. It was originally acquired maybe in the 60s or 70s for purposes of building a school. And that school was never built there. The site really wasn't particularly well suited for it. It's got a lot of wetlands, a lot of trails on it. A lot of the neighbors already use it. It's been used, for all intents and purposes as conservation land. That's a great example of one that comes up often. But there's certainly a whole bunch of parcels that kind of fit that bill. So I think it would be, again, as one of our action items in the open space plan, there seems to be certainly some interest in the Conservation Commission to have some of these parcels conveyed. And it would be good to start having these conversations with the Parks Commission as well, to see if any of these parcels may have some Parks and Rec sort of value to them as well. The West Street parcel might have a little bit of both, for instance. So that's a topic we'd like to discuss more. And I think mostly just want to prime the pump tonight, give you the more information that was forwarded. Rich, I don't know, is there anything specific you're looking for from the Open Space Committee tonight?
No, the only thing that we had just briefly talked about is coming up on the agenda was the 61A release of the property on Howard Street.
Yep. Okay. So the one thing I do think about when I think about the general municipal property, and I know we've talked about this in open space planning forums before, et cetera, is that while there is a lot of benefit to transferring the care and control to those committees, when there's some momentum to do that, there's also the potential to use that transfer as a leverage for future actions. And so I'm always trying to balance whether or not the time is right to do that transfer, just sort of because we think it's the right thing to do, or should we know which ones we want to transfer and then use them as leverage for future, like grant applications, for instance. If we have another acquisition that the town would like to do, and we make a grant application to a state agency, we can say, in addition to the work that we're going to do, we're also going to convert this other parcel through town meeting vote to be conservation land. And so use it as an additional lever. I think there's value in that, but I think that's a policy decision and one that we should probably talk about it a little further.
Brandon, do you have the list of properties, or is it in the plan? Or
it's in the plan, yeah. I think I want to say it's in one of the appendices. There's a long table of sort of the municipally owned land inventory.
Okay, I read the plan, but I didn't go through all the appendices, so I'll do that.
Yeah, and that corresponds directly with the land inventory map as well. So I encourage you to look at both of those things together.
Okay.
So I was thinking of your earlier question, Brandon, and I was thinking it makes a lot of sense for grant applications, but I wonder how that will work in town sometimes with our having properties that aren't producing tax revenue, and the desire to sell things off to improve our balances and things like that, especially in this current time. I'm just wondering how all that will work out. I think sometimes there may be a trigger to absolutely put it into conservation to protect it and keep it, and other times it might make sense to use it as a bargaining tool later.
I personally, I think when we go through this list, I think it just like, with our conservation, when we look at Chapter 61 withdrawals, right? Is it smart for us to say no to something, to things, because that way when you get up in front of town meeting and you're trying to say why something is so important. If you say yes to everything, nothing's important. And so you have to be able to say no, I think. And so if there are properties that do make sense to say, yeah, it's not a conservation priority, it's not a recreation priority, and it is truly surplus land, then yeah, that makes a lot of sense. One of the examples I can think of that comes up, and it's probably, if there's one property that's at most risk in all of this, it would probably be the former Woodruff property. And that property was acquired, I want to say it was somewhere around in 2000, was acquired by the town because it was feared it was going to be developed, and it was going to be developed and hooked into our sewer system. And it was going to really tax the sewer room, was going to cause all kinds of needs for upgrades. Paula, you probably have more background on that acquisition.
I actually don't. I think Rich probably does, though.
Okay. And Dave, I see you're on the line. You've probably were involved in some of those conversations as well. But that property is owned as general municipal. It wasn't purchased for conservation purposes. You look at the deed, it's just general municipal land. And so, with frontage on Leominster Road and frontage on, what's that, Fairview, I think, as well. And, it was obviously feared for development at the time. It's a large, it's largely managed, I think, as corn or hay, depending on the year. So it's very developable land, and certainly could be sold off at some point if the town so decided. Or a school could be built on it, or something else, so it, and maybe it makes sense for those things. Maybe it would make good sense as recreation land because it has, good high, it's kind of sloped and everything else, but maybe at the top of the hill there's a good spot for some fields or something. I don't know. Those are the types of things we need to think about. Go ahead.
Sorry, I thought you were done, Brandon.
That's okay.
It sounds like we have already identified things that would meet our criteria for keeping. It sounds like we need to assess the risk of losing it if we hang on to it for a while. Am I getting that right?
I think that makes sense. I agree with you, Sarah. I think it makes sense to kind of go through that inventory and get our thoughts, and then consult with the various, Conservation Commission or Parks and Rec and see what their thoughts are.
So we wouldn't want to lose the Woodruff by waiting on it.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I would support that.
Yeah. And I would say we wouldn't want to lose sight as to why it was acquired in the first place, which was, it was acquired to protect it from development because of the other fiscal impacts it would have caused with the impact of the sewer system. So, okay, so I would say let's keep that topic very much on the agenda for our next meeting then, and let's maybe in the interim try to come up with we can pull the lists out of the plan, pull some more of the information that we kind of outlined in the plan for next steps. And it may be that one of the things we want to do is try to encourage maybe a working committee or something of various boards. Maybe this is the working committee. I mean, there are plenty of boards represented here, so maybe that's what this is. But we should, I think, dig into this a little bit more deeply with the parcels and the maps and all that good stuff.
So
good.
We'll do that next meeting?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Any further thoughts or input on that topic? Okay, great. Moving on, the Economic Development Committee representation. I sent you some information about the Economic Development Committee, which was provided by Matt Allison, chairperson of the planning board. Matt, you're still the chairperson of the planning board, right? I think I see you on here.
I am. Yep. Thank you.
Yep. Hey, would you like to give us a little bit more background on the Economic Development Committee since you're most familiar with it?
Sure. It's relatively new. They don't have enough voting members yet to meet. There are 3 ex officio members. Paul is one of them. Tom Alonso and Adam Burney. We, at our last planning board meeting, I believe, appointed, am I correct on that, Paula? Was it the last meeting or the meeting before?
I think it was the meeting before, I think.
Okay. So there are two citizen at large. They weren't required to be business owners, but fortunately they were. We got J.C. Nickel from Smokestack Roasters and Kathy Clark. She owns the Lunenburg Flowers. And basically they're charged, and we just need some butts and seats, I suppose. Hopefully there would be business owners or business savvy, especially involved in town of Lunenburg. We're just trying to get more voices and more opinions and more people that have some business savvy and qualification involved to try to foster some more economic development in this great town.
So there is a requirement. One of the seats that is a voting member is a member of the Open Space Committee. So we need to, hopefully someone is interested in serving on this committee and will serve as that voting member. You know, from my perspective, I mean, economic development can go in a number of ways, but one of the things, I've attended a lot of seminars, and one of the big things is to determine what your goals are for economic development, what your market is, and then market the community in such a way as to draw that type of business or those types of establishments. So I think that would be the first step. But it's from a number of different perspectives. It's from a tax base, although that's going to be a relatively small impact, but it's also from, you know, are there things that we want to capitalize on? Are there, from an open space perspective, you know, our trail system is pretty phenomenal. Do we want to foster economic development that would be something like, you know, hiking stores or backpacking stores or snowshoeing or environmentally type geared businesses? So those are the kind of discussions we're looking for this group to have, and understanding from our existing businesses, our existing farms, our existing businesses, what we can do to help enhance their business opportunities. So that's what the town is looking for. And I happened to be on the board when the Board of Selectmen when we talked about it, but we never got it off the ground. And so I think it's fortunate that the planning board decided to really try to foster this, and Matt kind of drove that with the agricultural component. So I think it's a really important committee, and I'm hoping that somebody will volunteer.
If I may, my understanding is it doesn't have to be from the membership of the open space, that it can be a recommendation by the group. If you know, and this is exactly how I pitched it to the Agricultural Commission, was that we're looking for somebody that's going to possibly meet with us and discuss with us and give the Agricultural Commission a kind of an ear to the ground, and also maybe some input, some direction possibly. But again, I don't believe it needs to be a member of this group, Paula.
I thought it did.
I can find the charge.
Yeah, that would be great.
I'm looking at it here, and it says one member recommended by the Open Space Committee.
Okay, great. Okay, good. Then you're exactly right, Matt.
And another thing that was hopefully trying to prevent was the duplication, triplication, quadruplication of the various members and groups. It would be great to get some new voices in, I think. It's just my opinion. And I guess that's it. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Matt. So we will, I guess what I'd like to do is, first of all, if anybody on this committee would like to serve as our member or our recommendation, I would certainly be willing to consider that. Does anybody, would anybody like to nominate themselves to serve on that committee? Okay, hearing none, I'm also willing to take nominations of other folks who we could invite to be obviously they're not here to speak for themselves. So I would take nominations, and then whoever makes the nomination, I will charge with pursuing that person and seeing if that's something they would like to do. Does anybody have any ideas or folks that they would like to nominate to serve on as our recommendation?
Why don't we all as individuals talk to people that we think might be interested and maybe bring back some names for next meeting?
Yep.
Is that?
That was going to be my third thing. If anybody had any ideas straight away, I would certainly entertain those, but okay. Then let's, I think Paula's recommendation is the right one. And so we will go forth into the countryside and seek people or think about people that you think might make good sense for this. And again, for the Open Space Committee's perspective, when we were drafting the revised plan, we had a couple of public forums and things where it really came up that our conservation properties in particular are a draw. Our trail system, as Paula said, are a draw. So we can get people to our community, to come to our community to use these resources, and hopefully we can get them to engage economically as well. And maybe leave a few dollars behind as a result. So that would be really the link between the Open Space Committee and the Economic Development Committee. Yeah. Terrific. Anything else on the Economic Development Committee before we leave that topic? Great. Moving on. Item 6 is the 250 Howard Street, Chapter 61B withdrawal. I forwarded you a copy of the notice that the town received for this Chapter 61B withdrawal, along with the right of first refusal procedure that goes along with Chapter 61, 61A, and 61B withdrawal notices that the town receives. The town has, for those of you who aren't familiar, private property owners can enroll their property in one of several programs. Chapter 61 is under forestry. If you meet certain size and management requirements, you can enroll your property in Chapter 61 for forestry. Again, size and management requirements, you can enroll your property in Chapter 61A, which is agriculture, or Chapter 61B, which is open space. And what the Chapter 61 programs provide private landowners is a statutory reduction in their property taxes for enrolling in the program. So for instance, Chapter 61 forestry, those owners can receive up to a 95% abatement in their property taxes statutorily for enrolling in that program. So they, rather than paying $100,000 for their property taxes, they may only pay $5,000 in property taxes if they enroll in that program. Same thing with Chapter 61A and B. It's about a 75% reduction in property taxes. That obviously has a benefit to the private owner and encourages them to keep their land open rather than developing it because the cost of ownership is too high. But that also comes at a cost to the community for the reduced revenues that are associated with that. What the community gets in return for that reduction in property tax revenue is they get what's called a right of first refusal. So the town has, if a conversion of use is planned for that chapter property, or simply, and that change of use can be triggered either by just a notice to the town. The landowner can simply notify the town and say, we plan to change the use, or the landowner can actually have a bona fide offer from a willing seller, or rather a willing buyer, and they can present that offer to the town. And then the town has an opportunity to meet that offer and purchase the property instead for conservation or recreation purposes. So that's the basis of Chapter 61 withdrawals, and the procedure is outlined in detail that the town has adopted. The Board of Selectmen will be meeting on this property in particular on September 8th, and they'd like to have our recommendation before then. I would like to have our recommendation this evening if we can. Moving on to the property in particular, you see in the materials I sent, there's a property card for 250 Howard Street, shows the land acreage as being about a little north of 15 acres. And that parcel is on the north side of Howard Street, very close to the little piece of frontage that's associated with the Saliba property that we recently purchased. We did talk in the context of that purchase about sort of this grand scheme of regional connectivity. You can go through the Saliba property north to south from Northfield Road up to Howard Street in the woods, come out, cross Howard Street, get onto potentially this property or the adjoining conservation land that is part of this. If you look at the plan of land that's attached here, the town owns, I want to say, this is on page 5 of 15 of the PDF, is a plan of land entitled, let me see the plan here.
Brandon, can you share it?
Yeah, I could probably do that.
So on the bottom, just click share screen.
Yeah, I got it. All right. Let me know if you have any difficulty seeing this, and if you're seeing yourself, I apologize.
Okay.
All right, good. So I believe the town's property, and Rich, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the town owns this parcel here.
Parcel 1.
Yep. So that's town of Lunenburg Conservation Commission controlled lands. Parcel 2 is the parcel in question. I'm just going to go to the assessor's map here so you can see this a little bit better, and I will zoom out. So the town owns parcel 11 shown here, and the parcel in question is this parcel 12. So it abuts town-owned property here, but it also abuts on this corner parcel 10, which is also town-owned property here, and which is part of a very large block of town-owned property in the northwest corner of town. If you go to the open space plan and you go to maps, parcel in question is, I'm going to zoom in here so you can see it better. Parcel in question is this brown parcel here. The Conservation Commission parcel is shown in green here, and then you can see all of this conservation land in this portion of town, which is otherwise inaccessible, does not have good access. There is a deeded right-of-way across one of the tracts in here, but that right-of-way is compromised, so we don't have very good access into this. And the darker green here, I should say, is actually part of Pearl Hill, I think Pearl Hill Brook State Forest.
Yes, yeah, that is the only PCR piece in town.
Right, and that leads up into Willard Brook and all that whole block up in the northwest in here. And just for reference, this unshaded parcel, because it was not acquired yet, is the Saliba parcel, and the connectivity we're talking about would go through This property on it's on Route 13 and has frontage on Northfield, can come up through Saliba, come all the way up in here, and you're off to the races. So it's interesting from a connectivity standpoint, in my mind. When you look at this map in particular, I will just point out this parcel here, which is parcel 1. That parcel is currently in arrears. It's in tax title. So there is potential that through foreclosure processes, the town could take title to this. It's also this parcel, Rich and I have done a little bit of research on this, is this parcel is embroiled in an estate issue as well. And it's been in a family for a long time, and there's a couple of siblings fighting over things here. So it's sort of a messy situation, and acquisition of this parcel would sort of further stand to landlock it and make it more tenable for open space acquisition. The purchase price on this parcel that the town would be required to meet is $50,000, as outlined in the purchase and sale agreement. So 15 acres for $50,000 is, I don't know, you do the math. I'll do the math. I should be able to do the math without doing the math, but $3,000 an acre, a little bit more than $3,000 an acre, which is, I think, roughly what we paid for Saliba. So, Rich, has the Conservation Commission had a chance to look at this yet?
Well, this piece actually came up before the town last year, I believe, as a request of withdrawal from 61A, and then they withdrew their request with their purchase and sale. So at that time, we had discussed it, but with the timing involved, we moved on. It wasn't a unanimous decision, because I think we should be moving forward, trying to acquire this piece. The Rickenham Square that you had pointed to first came to my attention back in 1994 when I was appointed to the Town Forest Committee, and at that time the chair was Scott Foster, who was trying to get into discussions with the family to acquire the piece of property as it was landlocked. So it's a piece of property that we've been kind of watching for going on almost 30 years, trying to acquire, and it does block our access to that back 200 plus acre piece of property. So at this point, I would like to see us trying to move forward with it, but the commission and this time has not had any chance to talk about it. We did not talk about it last night's meeting. So.
The one thing I note in the purchase and sale contract, so when you exercise your right of first refusal under Chapter 61, you typically have to basically meet the terms of the purchase and sale contract. You'll see in the terms, total purchase price is $50,000. There's a $1,000 deposit that was paid. Then there's another $500 that was paid with this agreement. And then there's $48,500 that were due at the time of performance. But you look at the time of performance here, and it's listed as the 2nd day of April, 2020. I'm a little confused about what that means from in terms of the time of performance for the town. I didn't get good direction from town council on that. So it's a little hard to know exactly what our performance would be required to be. Obviously, there's there would have to be an appropriation by town in order to do this. Typically, you have 120 days to exercise your right of first refusal, and then you have to take reasonable efforts to meet the terms of the original contract. So unless anybody has a time machine, we're going to have a hard time meeting the April 20th or whatever deadline that's listed here. So there's some ambiguity, I guess, is the bottom line of what I'm trying to say here in terms of.
So did you actually talk to town council about that?
No, I just know that the town council was reviewing it for adequacy.
Okay.
The notice for adequacy and decided that it was adequate.
Okay, so that's a question that we need to ask town council, and I know that they have town council hours, but I'm not sure when.
Do you want to bring that up in your conversation with maybe Adam or when you're in?
Sure.
That might make sense.
Yeah.
Matt had implied that he had spoken briefly with town council and that this was not a legal notification that would start 120 days.
It is not, Rich?
Again, Matt was kind of in passing mentioned that to me. This is the first chance I've had to see the application, the submission.
Rich, you're really breaking up.
Not in best spot right now.
So I'm sorry, you said you talked to Ken and it was deemed to be a proper submission, or it was not?
Morrow implied that it was not a proper submission.
Okay. Okay, so from a connectivity standpoint, it would meet our criteria from a connectivity standpoint. Can we run through the other criteria? And maybe, Brandon, could you send that out to everybody? Because I looked for that and I couldn't find it. Brandon? You're muted, Sarah.
Suddenly I became the host.
I know, I saw that. Sarah Kammer is now the host.
I think Brandon might have lost connectivity.
Okay, well, hopefully he'll come back.
Yeah.
Oh, I just got a text. Hold on.
Okay.
It looks like we lost several people, Sarah. Our lights here flashed a minute ago, so maybe there's something going on.
Okay. It's a beautiful, clear day, so.
Yeah, I know. Well, Unitil.
Brandon had a power surge and lost connection.
We lost other members too, Paula.
Okay.
Yep, we lost Matt. Oh, Matt's back.
Yep.
We lost our new member,
Lynn.
Lynn.
All right, so Brandon's trying to get back in. Oh, we got Lynn back.
Yep.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Lynn.
What happened?
There's a power surge, apparently.
Oh, did we lose everybody?
We lost several people.
Good, Brandon.
Oh, there's Brandon.
Hey, Brandon, welcome back.
Oh, he's muted.
Sorry, is that better?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna make you host because I'm not ready. I still have few.
Well, I'm doing this on my phone, so I don't know if I can
Oh.
host. So
I can.
all those in favor of Sarah being the host?
All right.
Sorry about who all did we lose others?
Is everybody back?
So I have in our participants, I've got Brandon, Mike, Paula, Richard, Lynn, Mr. Pastios, and Matt Allison.
And we lost Karen too.
Karen, but she said she had to leave at 6:30.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yep. Okay.
Okay. Sorry about that, everybody.
So what you missed on your
Sarah,
way.
1 second.
Well,
Just make sure on your screen, Sarah, that you have the record light showing in the upper left corner.
It says it's recording.
Okay.
It's a red
Make sure
button.
the posted swap that we were still recording.
Okay. So Brandon, you were discussing the connectivity of the piece, and that makes it desirable. Can you review the other points, the other criteria that the open space has as to determine whether or not does it meet 3 of our criteria?
I think it does. Let me just look that back up. As our criteria are also in the appendix of the open space plan.
Are you trying to share your screen?
I know because I'm on my phone.
Okay.
So sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
I did look for it and I couldn't find it. I found the procedure, but I didn't find the criteria.
I thought it was in an area of environmental concern, but
It is in an ACEC, that piece, yeah.
I had that one on my list. It met kind of.
And I do believe it's so appendix 3 of the open space plan is the open space acquisition. So is the parcel greater than or equal to 50 acres in size? Does it contain important habitat resources? I know it's also biomap, mapped for biomap habitat. And actually, if you look at the habitat maps in the open space plan, we should be able to see that as well. Does it provide public access and or recreation? I think we already answered that question. Important for scenic vistas and or maintaining rural character. Given that it has very little road frontage, I think it'd probably be kind of hard to argue that it's provides scenic vistas or rural character components. My own personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Is it contiguous to other protected open space or recreation resource? The answer to that is yes. Does it support local agricultural viability? And it's not agricultural, it's forestry. So I don't think the answer to that is yes. And so our open space criteria suggests that it should meet a minimum of 3 of those criteria, and it meets the habitat, public access, and contiguity. So it does meet 3 of our criteria for open space.
Question about continuity.
Yep.
So the parcel is adjacent to another town-owned parcel immediately to the west, and both of those abut the street. I understand that. If you go to the northern end of that parcel, it abuts that square, that lot 1, that's contentious right now. It doesn't truly abut the other piece of town-owned land to the northeast because they meet at a corner.
Yep.
So you couldn't possibly put a trail through there or anything like that.
I think that's technically true. Yep.
Okay. So we would need to have either an easement across one of those adjacent parcels in order to connect to the north, or some kind of an agreement with one of those parcels that allows connectivity to go through there. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. So it's one of those, it's close to meeting that criteria, but it doesn't quite meet it.
Well, I mean, it is contiguous to the parcel it does share a substantial boundary to.
Yes.
So,
Yes. And
but,
there is
maybe
great-
you're, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, and there is potential to have it hook up with the parcels to the north, but something else would have to drop in order to be able to do that.
It's true.
Okay.
And, you know, and that maybe gets to, rather than the contiguity piece is the recreation piece, is that maybe it's not, doesn't kind of perfectly fit that recreation component, which is, let me read that again.
Where are you reading from, Brandon?
This is in Appendix 3 of the open space plan, is the open space criteria. Which is on page 103, PDF
Okay.
page
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
103.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And it's provides public access and or recreation is the criteria. So to Mike's point, I think the public access and recreation component of it is probably the weakest of those three criteria. So anybody have any further comments in terms of the value of the property for open space or recreation acquisition according to this analysis? Does anybody want to make a motion regarding our recommendation to the Board of Selectmen about how they should view and respond to this right of first refusal?
Brandon, if I may.
Please.
You know, we acquired the Saliba property, and access to that property, there is just that small strip of land. But whether or not we could offer parking and potentially access to the Saliba parcel there, I think makes, you know, this piece of potential, more potential value. I think that the connectivity, especially with the situation with parcel number 1, as you pointed out on the map, I think is something we could pursue. I think it's an important piece of property to protect. It is within an ACEC. It is a valuable habitat. So I would make a motion that the Open Space Committee recommend the town pursue their right of first refusal.
Great. Thank you for that. Motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Thank you. That was Lynn seconding?
Yes.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Motion has been made and seconded. We'll take a roll call vote. Let's see. How about Mike? You go first this time.
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Paula?
Aye.
Terrific. Motion carries. Thank you very much. We will. I will share that recommendation, and maybe Paula, once you have that discussion summarized in the minutes, if you wouldn't mind forwarding that to me, and I can communicate that forward to the Board of Selectmen.
Sorry,
Great.
I just let somebody walk in. Sure, I can do that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. I think that covers everything in our agenda. I would like to open it up for public comment if anybody has anything further that they would like to discuss.
What was the Bright Farms access
Yeah.
request?
Sorry. So there is, you know what, I honestly don't know it well enough, Bob. This was sort of Bob's agenda item. Rich, I don't know if you have anything you could add to the conversation about the Bright Farms and access and connectivity.
I am not familiar with that. What is the Bright Farm?
So this is the, you see the map that was forwarded a little earlier. It says the map is entitled Connection Between Reno and Saliba South. And this is the Saliba South parcel is the portion of the Saliba property that was acquired for parks purposes. And here is an example very similar to what you were talking about, Mike, in terms of the connectivity to the Reno conservation land to the Saliba piece is really just across a corner. Thank you for sharing that, whoever did that. And this larger portion of property is proposed for some sort of sale. This parcel that's highlighted in yellow. And I believe what Bob is looking for is to try to gain support for the town to acquire an easement across that little double arrowed area, that little corner, as part of the permitting process for connectivity purposes, so that we can have connectivity between the Reno conservation land, direct connectivity between the Reno conservation land and the Northfield Park parcel. So I guess what we could do is take a sort of a, I don't know, maybe a motion to support pursuit of an easement in this corner or something, to just sort of lend our support to the Conservation Commission and or Planning Board as they may consider future actions with this parcel, is maybe the right thing for us to do at this moment.
Is this
Exactly what
property?
Brandon was looking for. Unfortunately, we called it the lettuce growers. We didn't call it Bright Farm. So that's why that's the name it out. But there is currently a trail, a remnant of a trail. It does kind of cut the corner. So we're looking to continue use of that trail, and it's kind of hard where it's just making corners that meet. So we were looking, the Conservation Commission was looking for support to try to get the easement on that. The arrows that are marked there.
Rich, it's really hard to hear you. It sounds like you're trying to say that there's a trail that we're hoping to maintain access for.
Yeah, there is. Can you hear me a little better?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. No, there is a bit of a trail and that cuts across from the Saliba parcel that's under the care and control of the Parks Department onto that Reno conservation area. And then the trail does proceed down through the conservation area. So it is the full trail that connects all of the different parcels. So we were looking for the support, the Conservation Commission was looking for support to try to get that easement with the trail in the corner as part of the permitting process.
And what is the what permitting process are they undergoing right now that would give you sort of that that opportunity?
That was something Bob had talked about, so I'm not sure exactly what permits they would need to go through to put the facility on that piece of property. I believe it was a grower of some sort.
Yeah, I think he described it as a lettuce farm. So I think they're going to do either hydroponic growing or greenhouse growing of vegetables.
Yeah. So I'm not sure exactly what permits they would need to secure to get their facility built.
So
Does Matt, do you have any thoughts on this?
I sure do. Thank you for asking, and through the chair, of course.
Yes, please.
I'm certainly not an expert on this, but I have been following. So they're proposing 1,000,000 square foot greenhouse to grow lettuce, just lettuce, hydroponically. And their proposal involves an intermunicipal agreement with either Fitchburg or Leominster for sewer. They've offered to dig a well to supply for the water tower there that's adjacent to this property, the Lunenburg Water District. They've got a very aggressive timeline to get all this stuff done. As far as anything that I've seen at any of the meetings, there has been no pushback at all. It sounds like a really good thing. They're going to be at our planning meeting this coming Monday. So they seem very, very, very open and workable to work with the town. And also, I would also mention that this is the previous 67
Highfields.
Highfield
Right.
Village. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
No, well, yeah. Okay. So, anyways, there's an existing conditions plan in that package that outlines exactly where the trails are, so there's all kinds of backstory here. But the person looking to get the land looks like they're very open to working with the town.
Great. Well, with that in mind, I mean, a trail easement would certainly be nice. Actual connectivity between these two parcels would also be nice. I mean, it certainly seems like a reasonable thing for, obviously we don't have any sort of regulatory authority with regard to this, but we could have a motion to encourage the town boards that do, namely the Planning Board and Conservation Commission, through their negotiations with these owners regarding the permitting process, is to secure some sort of connectivity, whether it's acquisition of a portion of the property through gift, or acquisition of a trail easement, or some other such thing, to make sure that we get some form of connectivity between these two parcels of town-owned land. That was long and convoluted, but I don't know if somebody would like to make a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Seconded.
There's a motion and a second. Does anybody have any further questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Sarah?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
I am an aye as well. And Paula?
Aye.
Great. Terrific. Thank you for that. Any further public comment? Hearing none, I will accept the motion to adjourn at 7:19 p.m.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
I'll second.
Terrific, thank you. Sarah?
Aye.
Paula?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
Brandon is also an aye, and if you wouldn't mind closing out the recording, Sarah, I would very much appreciate it.